as you see on the far right. It was discovered in Egypt around 1970. However, it was kept in a safe deposit box for the longest time and was only released from the safe deposit box in the year 2001 and then finally published in 2006, although some pages apparently are still missing. Among the texts of the Chapel Codex is the famous Gospel of Judas, and so where we get to hear from Judas's point of view what happened in the life of Christ. That gives you an idea then of the original sources of Gnosticism. So let's now move to the discovery of the Nag Hammadi portrait. And the story begins with these two brothers that you see here, Khalifa and Muhammad Ali, and that they were digging in these hills close to their village, which lies not too far away from the larger city of Nag Hammadi. And they were digging for fertilizer, which was their custom, when they came upon a jar, a sealed jar. So they took this jar out of the earth, broke it open, and immediately all these dust particles and fragments of pages flew up into the air, and they discovered these series of codices. In fact, they discovered 13 codices, and when they brought them home, they showed them to their mother. She immediately took one of them and thought, this must be good for fire kindling. So she threw the first text straight into the fire, and it was burned as a way to kindle their fire. However, the brother did hold on to the other texts, and eventually, there's a long story, but due to various family disputes, they were given to the local Coptic priest, who then sold them in Cairo, and in Cairo it was realized by Jean Jaurès that these are very important discoveries. It took, however, until the 1960s for scholars to come together as a team funded by UNESCO to actually go through the texts and try to preserve them, to put them under glass, to piece them together since they were so fragmented, and finally to translate them. So only in the 70s did these texts emerge into our culture, and they emerged in this form as the Coptic Gnostic Library, with the Coptic pages on the left hand and the translations into English on the right hand. And then a more popular version was released called the Nag Hammadi Library, edited by James M. Robinson. And since then, we've had quite a few translations, also translations into other European languages like German, French, and so on, so that it has now entered into the public domain starting in the 1970s. So let's have a look now at the 13 codices.
Wrong one.
Just to remind you, is a book, as opposed to, say,
I kinda slow sometimes.
Codex is a bound book, and these were bound with beautiful leather covers, some of them even sealed with design. Codex 1 was actually separated from the rest and found its way as a gift to Carl Gustav Jung, and he had it in his possession for quite some time. And then when all of the texts were put together and collected in the Coptic library in Cairo, he willingly gifted it to the Coptic library in Cairo. So you will find, for example, in Codex 2, the Apocryphon of John, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip. What is an Apocryphon? Apocryphon, as opposed to Apocalypse. Apocalypse is a revealed teaching. The Apocryphon is a hidden teaching. And indeed, Christ appears to the disciple John in this text and reveals to him a hidden version of what really happened in history.
I can't believe I keep missing that.
You have acts, you have letters, and some of the main characters that you meet with in the Gnostic text.
Oh, why did I just do that?
Or his descendants, Shem, Melchizedek, the high priest, Jesus Christ and Sophia, but also the apostles like John, James, Peter, Thomas, Philip, Mary Magdalene, and Judas. All of these having their own versions and indeed their own schools of thought in which they interpret the words of Jesus Christ. Other figures emerge like Gnostis, Marsanes, Allogenes, and Valentinus, but not just...
I know what I can do.
Round one, fight.
Easy peasy.
Final round, fight.
Oh man, it was too high for me to connect my fatal with the when you were up there in the thing. You was too high up, dog. Man, I was trying to connect that tank. I was trying to connect that pole.
Gnostic texts, we also find Plato's Republic, we find Hermetic texts like the Asclepius, and another Hermetic text, the Discourse on the 8th and 9th. So it's an interesting collection. It's mostly Gnostic, but not just Gnostic, and it includes Platonic texts, Hermetic texts, and so forth. So the main ones, as I said, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Apocryphon of John, and another very well-known one up there is the Thunder Perfect Mind. And there's a whole series of fascinating revelations over the course of these different pages. If I take some examples then from the Nag Hammadi corpus, and these examples can be called logia or sayings. This one, for example, from the trimorphic Protanoia: I am androgynous. I am the mother, and I am the father, and I am the I copulate with myself. I am the womb that gives shape to the all by giving birth to the light that shines in splendor. Just to give you an idea of the kind of poetry, the spiritual poetry that you encounter. This next one from the Thunder Perfect Mind: I am the first and the last. I am the honored and the scorned one. I am the whore and the holy one. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the mother and the daughter. I am the barren one, and many are my sons. I am she whose wedding is great, and I have taken no husband. Here's a line from the Dialogue of the Savior on the top right. Clothe yourselves in the light and enter the bridal chamber. And we will soon learn what this means about clothing yourself in light and entering a bridal chamber. And these last two ones then from the Gospel of Thomas, which is a list of sayings, very much like this Q list that the German
What's up, you smelly Lily?
Exist, and certainly it did show up as existing.
I bet it smells better than you. I know I smell, but better than you.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
I will show you what no eye has seen, no ear
I stink pretty bad, bro.
and what no hand
I do you too.
has touched, and what has never occurred to the human mind. Logian 18, which is very mysterious. The disciples said to Jesus,
Noob
"Tell
Saibot.
us how the end will come."
Bye-bye.
Jesus
I
said,
might do,
"Have you already laid bare the beginning, so that now
Raiden.
you seek the end? For the end
Cyberlin
will be
Quaid Assembly.
where the beginning is."
Good game either way, bro.
And you can see why scholars were so intrigued by Gnosticism, because you have these beautiful texts, these beautiful sayings which don't exist in the canonical Gospels, and suddenly you have words being put into the mouth of Christ, which are pure poetry. And not just poetry, but also very profound in their spiritual and philosophical ramifications.
Oh, bro, don't skip the
On the
movie.
other hand,
It's alright.
when the Nag Hammadi library first appeared, the way it appeared was somewhat difficult to read because the scholars were being very true to the text. And to be true to the text, whenever they made an emendation and added a word, they did this in square brackets. And very often they had to because the text was so fragmented. As well, every time there was a line break, they put a slash, they were numbering each line, also each page. And so, reading it, you ended up reading something like this. Then you see also that the language of Gnosticism can be very obscure. Let's take this example on the top left in the Gospel of the Egyptian. And thus, he was defeated. The mother, the son, the five seals, the unconquerable power which is the great Christ of all the incorruptible ones, ... holy, ... the end, the incorruptible, ... and ... they came forth. So the text could be very, very fragmented. It depends on which text. Some are less fragmented. The Apocryphon of John, which exists in 3 different examples, we can collate the different versions that have a much longer and complete text. On the other hand, let's take this one from the first Apocalypse of James, where we finally get to discover the names of some of Christ's female disciples. And it begins, when you speak these words of this ... encourage these women Salome, and Miriam, and then the follower guesses, and Martha, and Arsinoe, that it breaks off, since he takes some ... to me. So just as we're getting the names of the women who followed Christ, their text becomes fragmentary. And this is the only text, pretty much, that mentions them by name. Another very important text is the one on the far right, a Valentinian exposition. And this text is important because we finally get in the words of the Gnostics themselves the relationship between Jesus and Mary Magdalene, or rather, between Christ and Sophia. But when we read it, it becomes very, very difficult to read. And just to go through it quickly.
Round one, fight.
In unity and reconciliation.
Round
Now,
two,
it's a bit sad. It's almost incomprehensible. You have to read it and read it and start to understand the language, the unique language that the Gnostics use. Words like syzygy and corona, monogenes, and so on. Once you start to learn the Gnostic language, you start to see the Gnostic worldview, you start to understand that here is, in fact, the marriage of Christ and Sophia at the end of time that will bring about the reconciliation of the all with the one. This is the single text that gives us. So it's very important, but you have to penetrate fairly deeply into the Gnostic worldview. Let us now have a look at Gnosticism today. And Gnosticism has impact on various facets of our culture. Clearly, in the academic field, that's where a lot of writing is being done about Gnosticism. Beginning here with Kurt Rudolph and Elaine Hegel's, Kurt Rudolph's book Gnosis, and Elaine Hegel's The Gnostic Gospel, to seminal texts that were published in the last 40 years or so. More recent scholars, such as April DeConnick, have emerged with interesting perspectives on Gnosticism as a countercultural movement. And then many of the most known scholars, Marvin Mayer, John D. Turner, Madeline Scapello, Karen King, Berger A. Pearson, all of these academics, professors at universities who are doing an excellent job in both translating and interpreting Gnosticism. On the other hand, their writings don't necessarily reach such a broad public. And this is where the independent scholars come in to bring knowledge of Gnosticism to a wider public. And particularly Stefan H. Fuller and Miguel O'Connor have played an excellent role.
What? How are you not dead yet?
Gnostica on the west coast of the USA, and Miguel O'Connor through his podcast,
Hugs.
On Bite,
Huggies.
have served this purpose. Other important figures in this independent scholar, if you want, movement would be Eric Davis, his book Technosis, Timothy Frake and Peter Gandy, Andrew Philip Smith, and I have to put myself, Lawrence Caruana, in that same category as an independent scholar of Gnosticism. Going further afield, who are we as Gnostics to call the other Gnostics heretics? But the esoteric field, we have interpretations of Gnosticism by, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Samuel Aun Weor and John Ram Lash. These are, from my taste, interpretations of Gnosticism that were originally far afield. At the beginning of our century, Helena Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, Jules Duanel, and the Ecclesias Gnostique, these were also through theosophy and so on, attempts to create a Gnostic view of understanding the world, but not really deeply based in the actual text we have today. How do I fit into this context as independent scholar? Well, I have had a book published, a novel called The Hidden Passion, a novel of
You're a wonderful champion.
where I actually take specific quotations from the mathematical text and insert them in the mouths of the characters.
I salute thee,
And in this
sir.
way, I try to bring alive the Gnostic worldview, and by presenting it in narrative form, it becomes more presentable, more understandable. And along with that same endeavor, I created the Gnostic Q, and this is an online source for Gnostic studies, where you basically have a large philosophy of Gnostic terms that you can reference. As a result of the roles that I've played, my art has appeared in, for example, The Gnostic, the magazine, and I have appeared on Elon Vice Radio with the honor talking about my books. And certainly my books have had an impact within Gnostic culture. Other important cultural references for Gnosticism would be cinema, and literature, even comic books. Lawrence Durrell, The Alexandria Quartet, or Philip K. Dick, Valis on the far right. These are definitely texts inspired by Gnosticism. Cormac McCarthy, Blood Meridian would be another consideration, with a different code by Dan Brown.
Oh, good shot, bro.
Children's literature
Or girl.
is Dark Materials by Philip Pullman.
Bro or sis. Bro or sis.
Good game, bro.
Oh, yeah. You a bro. What's up? Good game, man.
I didn't mention until now.
Hey, bro, I bet you just got a bunch of points. I'm glad.
On the far right, the Gnostic Jung.
I don't get no bunch of points.
Well, yeah, I'm a master rank, and since you're only a champion, you winning gives you a bunch of points to rank up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I bet you just got like 150 points.
Probably. We can rematch if you want to.
No, man, I'm about to get off. I'm like, man,
Okay.
yeah. I'm about to just watch this video.
Good game, bro.
Yeah, man, good game.
Got it.